You are listening to Tom's Hirschsprung's podcast, where I provide a look into the remarkable experiences of the most inspiring people around Hirschsprung disease and sport. Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Tom's Hirschsprung's podcast. This week I have three very special guests. I have the Williamson family with me. I have Laquita Williamson, and I have Marcus Williamson and Marcus Jr. Williamson. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Now, for Laquita and Marcus, you are going to tell us the story of Marcus Jr. and his Hirschsprung disease. Am I right in saying that Marcus is 6 at the moment?
Yeah, he'll be 7 on March 7th.
Oh, wow. So happy birthday for March 7th.
Hey.
But in your own time, whenever you're ready, you can go along with the story.
Okay. Well, Marcus was born March 7th, 2017. And it was about 3 days after his birth. He was not wanting to eat. He was starting to throw up green bowel, and he wasn't pooping. So the nurses, they knew something was wrong, but at the time they didn't know what was wrong. So they had to transfer us to Carilion Hospital in Roanoke, Virginia. And when we got there, they specialize in Hirschsprung cases. So when we got there, through the whole time, it was about a month, but it seemed like forever that we were there. So they did a lot of tests on him to see, what the problem could be. And they did a lot of biopsies of his rectum because I believe that they kind of had an idea of what it was, but they just couldn't say because they hadn't done the test yet. So after a few biopsies, they told me that he had Hirschsprung disease, and he couldn't eat anything because of him not being able to poop. So they had him on IVs and, getting his nutrients through that. And he was able to eat something called sucrose. It was like a sweetener that they would give him to kind of, I guess, help his craving. So he was there, and maybe about 3 weeks after he was born, they did this surgery, a pull-through surgery, so with Hirschsprung disease, the colon is closed off, and they had to go in and cut the diseased part off. And at the time, they didn't know if they would be able to reconnect his colon back to his rectum or not, because they didn't know how much had Hirschsprung's on it. So they told us that he might have to end up having a colostomy bag for a while, and after he got a little bit older, then they could reverse it and do the surgery once his body grew. But so they had the surgery, and his diseased part was only a few centimeters, so they didn't have to do the colostomy bag. The surgeon said that he was able to reconnect it back to his rectum, so that was a blessing for us. And so they did the surgery. It only took like a few hours, and they did the surgery, and then maybe, I'm not sure, about a week or so after, we were able to take him home. And I thought that was going to be it, that was going to just fix everything. But it did fix the problem. It did fix him his poop not being able to come out. It did fix that, but it didn't fix his body. So even though he had the surgery, his body still knows that it was born with Hirschsprung disease. So we had to learn over time as he was growing that he couldn't eat certain things. And at the time I was nursing and I didn't know that he couldn't have certain things. And the surgeon didn't know. He did kind of warn me of it, but, from other cases, but he said every case is different. So I would just have to, go through the years or the months rather, and see what happened. And it was just a terrible time. So everything that I ate that I didn't know that his body didn't like was affecting him. So we went through a series of things, and then finally his surgeon told us to just start giving him, when I was feeding him, when I was nursing, it was terrible. His bottom was terrible. His poop was, so with him, I'll say his poop was full of acid. And anytime he ate something that he couldn't have, it would burn his bottom. So his bottom would just be like the rawest of the rawest. It was like 100 times the worst diaper rash anybody could ever imagine. And so when he got of age to start eating food, we started giving him one thing for 3 days. Like, so I would puree his food. So we would do like green beans for 3 days. And if the green bean didn't bother him, it didn't cause him to have acidic poop, then we knew that he could have green beans. And then after that 3 days, we would do carrot. And then after those 3 days, if we saw that didn't bother him, then we'd like, okay, he can have carrot. So we went through all different kind of foods like that for like almost the first year. And for his first year, he didn't eat meat because we were just scared. We just gave him green, all vegetables, potatoes, all things like that, because I don't know, we were just so scared. We didn't want to give him anything other than vegetables. So he ate really clean for the first year. When he turned around 1, he was eating only vegetables probably to about 2, he was eating only vegetables. And then my mom mentioned to me he probably needs to eat more than just vegetables. So we start, giving him, again, we'll start back. We'll do like chicken 3 days in a row. If the chicken didn't bother him, then we would move to something else. But one thing that we don't give him is pork. And if he does eat beef, it might be a hot dog. But most of the time we do turkey hot dogs, turkey burger. We keep him away from things that might cause him to be constipated. We did learn that beef is constipating. Like it's not constipating. It's slow. It takes a time for a body to digest it. So with him, the doctor did tell us that if he wasn't pooping, if his poop stayed in his stomach too long, that it could cause enterocolitis. And that, so that way we were scared to give him beef, because it was like, if it takes too long for it to process, to go through his body, it might sit there too long, and we don't want him to get enterocolitis. And the enterocolitis is an infection in the colon. They did say that they don't know why that happens to a lot of Hirschsprung kids or people who have Hirschsprung disease. They said it just happened. And sometimes, in our case, Marcus has never had that. He's never had enterocolitis. We honestly never have had to go back to the hospital for anything major. The times we did travel going back to Roanoke was because of our own, like me and his dad, we were scared. So if we didn't know, if we thought something was wrong, we would just drive to the hospital. And we don't live close to that hospital, but we would drive hours to that hospital because we knew that hospital took care of him before. And we knew that they knew how to handle. The hospital where we are, not so much. They didn't know much about it. So we would always drive to where we knew where to go, who could take care of him. And every time we went, it was nothing major. I guess they thought that we were these crazy parents. But every time we went, they were like, no, he's fine. He was a little impacted one time, but they gave him something and told us what to give him at home to keep him, going pretty good. But it was just an experience. And in our household, poop is like nothing. I mean, it's like some people might not like to talk about poop, but here, everybody in my family, everybody that's around us, they know poop is like talking about ice cream. I mean, it's not the same, but it's no big deal to talk about poop in our house, because it's like it's a big deal because he has to poop, and if he does not poop, then he's going to be sick. I mean, any of us would be sick, but in his case, it would be more severe because of his Hirschsprung disease. And so after all of that, getting his food and stuff right, now we know exactly what he can eat and what he can't eat. Now that he's older, getting ready to be 7, he kind of has a mind of his own. So he likes what he likes, even though he's not supposed to have it. So we've gotten to where we know the things that he's not supposed to have, if he has a little bit of it, he can't eat a lot of sweet. So if he has a little bit of sweet, it doesn't bother him. But if he has too much, in which we don't know what too much is, we just kind of got a feel of what he can and can't have, from over the years. But if he eats something too much of candy or if he sneaks a piece too much candy or something, then I know, because the same thing happens every time. His poop is full of acid. And even though he's this age, the same thing happened. So we try to keep our watch on what he can and can't eat, what he can and can't drink. A lot of juices, too much sugar. So anything with too much sugar, a lot of times we'll mix his juice and water together to kind of dilute it. He can't have dairy. He can't have too many sweets. He can't have acidic, like pizza sauce. So we do Alfredo-based pizza for him. And we do put cheese on the pizza, but we'll do like light cheese. So we kind of got it all together, what he can and can't have. But, overall, his life has been pretty good. Other than, as long as he stays away from what he doesn't need, then he's pretty good. He's just like any other normal child. But other than that, we have those times where he has the problems with his poop being acidic. And other than that, he also has, and I know a lot of other Hirschsprung's kids might have this too. He'll have like accidents sometimes. And now he's not incontinent, but sometimes I believe, the way his surgeon mentioned to me is that when he did his surgery, that he couldn't take all of the Hirschsprung's part off, because if he would have, it would have took away his sense of knowing when to go to the bathroom. So he said he did leave a small amount for those purposes. So now, and I can even see it when he goes to the bathroom, or he doesn't go, or if he has an accident on himself, it's not because he pooped on himself. To me, it's almost like poop got stuck in that spot where the nerves are not there. So, and sometimes I think it just comes out on its own. So that's another thing that we deal with a lot of too, which is a big struggle. I mean, I'm sure our case is probably not as bad as other people's case, I'm sure. But for him and for us, sometimes it's frustrating, and, we just have to think this is what he was born with, and this is what we have to deal with, and we have to make the best out of it. So we're making the best out of what we have. We love him. He's a special little boy to us, so we're just thankful that things turned out the way they did, because if they didn't, then he might not be here, because they caught it when he was like 3 days old. So it's been cases where they didn't catch it or they didn't catch it at all, and the child passed away. So we're thankful.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you very much for telling that story. One part that I pick up on, you said that you go to a hospital that's very far away because it's specialist, and I can definitely relate to that, because my hospital that I went to was in London and I live in Suffolk, so that would be sort of 2 hours away, the hospital, because it was a specialist hospital. I couldn't just go to my local, GP down the road. I had to go to the specialist hospital. And whenever I had that, then I had to have the day off school, and I'd have people sort of question, say, well, why are you having the day off school if, you're just doing a hospital appointment? And I just found it really difficult to explain, well, actually, I'm a bit different, and I'm special in a way. And that was a tricky one. And then another point, the food. Thank you so much for explaining that. But the trial and error, the beans or the meat, and it was 3 days. Was there any sort of specific reason that it was 3 days each time?
I honestly don't know for sure. I just follow what the doctor suggested. So I'm guessing maybe after 3 days, it gives it time to work its way through your body, and if there are going to be any effects, then your body will let you know after 3 days.
Definitely. And another point you said as well about being really positive, because again, all this podcast is around a lot of positivity and about sort of achieving what you want to and not letting Hirschsprungs stand in your way. Are there any other examples of Marcus achieving things and not letting Hirschsprungs stand in his way at all?
Mm-hmm. We have him in a Taekwondo class, and he loves that class. He loves to fight and do things like that with the class, so he does that. We haven't. Well, he's at the age right now at his school, they don't have after school activities as far as sport. But we're looking to get him into playing baseball for his age, because he loves baseball as well. But going places with his cousins, he goes and does things like any other normal child. The only thing, me being his mom, now that he's gotten older, I'm not as bad. But when he was a little bit younger, he should be old enough to go with people, but I would just be nervous, for him having to take his backpack with him, just in case he would have accidents. And to getting my family to understand how serious it was and how often they needed to check on him and things like that. So those were things that I would worry about. But no, he does. Right now, he's just a Taekwondo class, and he enjoys that. Other than that, if they have activities after school at his school for the kids, he attends those. So it's nothing that's really holding him back. If anything is holding him back, well, in the past, it would be me, because I was like, well, no, because, and then I had family members telling me, well, you can't baby him. You have to let him, be like every other child. He wants to play. He wants to go to birthday parties and things like that. So I've gotten better over the years to allow him to be himself. And I've also taught him exactly what he needs to do to take care of himself when he isn't away from me. So as far as going to school, he goes to school, going to kindergarten. Last year, I was dreading for him to start school, because I just didn't want my baby to go to school and I'm not there to help him. But I prepared him, because when he went to kindergarten, he knew exactly what to do, and he knows exactly what to do now. So he's good.
Fantastic. I think having spoken to a lot of parents on the podcast and off those podcasts, and spoken to my own parents about this as well, I think that comes up a lot, that parents get very worried if you have a child with a long-term illness. You think, how will they survive in this situation? How will they survive without me? And one thing that I have seen is that a lot of children are very, very resilient, very resilient, and very self-aware as well, and know a lot more than we think they know. And I think sometimes it's that really sort of worrying is completely and utterly normal. You said that as well, or Marcus said that he doesn't know anybody with Hirschsprung disease. And now obviously you've met me as the first person with Hirschsprung's. But has there been certainly from a sort of medical point of view, when you've gone to the doctors, have they been able to give you more examples of people having Hirschsprung disease and what life might be like in the future, or is it been sort of a trial and error process?
So as far as meeting people, no, we haven't. Well, the doctor, they wouldn't, tell us if other people had or get us to meet up. But as far as him, like in the future, the surgeon said that it's, every case is different. So he said as he got older, he would know how to just, I guess, fit in his body more. So if he was to getting ready to have an accident, he would know. Like now he's 7. A lot of times I think he just wants to play, and he probably knows, but he'll just play instead of go to the bathroom. So as he gets older, he said that he would just hopefully just know how to control it more. I just learn his body more, that he would know. But as far as him not having the same problems, he said sometimes it might get to the point where he can have so much control over himself that he might not have accidents anymore. So that's what we're hoping and praying for. But he said there's no cure for it or anything like that. So we're just hoping and praying for the best as he gets older.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, he's a long-term illness. It is a management. It is a management, and as you say, each case is different. So there's nobody, especially not me or anybody who can tell you any medical advice and say this will happen in the future or this will happen in the future. Right. Again, I mean, it would be great if somebody sat down, wrote a book, and said, right, on when you're 7, this happens. When you're 8, this happens. When you're 9, this happens. But unfortunately, it just isn't like that. And you sort of go day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, and see, how it goes. You said that Marcus was into baseball. Does he have a favorite baseball player?
No, he hasn't. No, he likes to play and hit the ball, but he doesn't actually watch baseball. And he really does a great job to be his age as far as hitting the ball. So that's why we're hoping to get him to playing so he can get more into it.
Fantastic. And is it just baseball that he's into, or is there any other, and Taekwondo, obviously, any other sports that he likes at all?
Not, I mean, he likes to go to basketball games when we go, but he hasn't really said he wants a basketball or anything like that, or football. It's just been mostly baseball or him going to a Taekwondo class.
Fantastic. And really finally from me, I know we just talked a little bit about the future is very much kind of, it's not a complete roadmap of sort of a linear proportion. But where do you see the future going as far as Marcus? What do you think you'll be doing in the future?
I honestly think he's going to be like a big deal, because I mean, for me to say that, it might sound a little weird, but my son, he's just not like a normal 7-year-old. I mean, I don't know if it's because he's around older people a lot, but he just knows a lot. He's very smart. And some of the things that come out of his mouth, I didn't even know that he knew how to say it or have a conversation like he has a conversation. He says that he wants to be a scientist, and he loves that in his school they have STEM class. So, I mean, STEAM class, and that's their science class, and he loves that class. So he's saying that he's going to be a scientist, and if it's not a scientist, it's going to be something, because the little boy, he's different. He is really, really different.
Yeah, but he must have been around doctors and hospitals, so he must have an excellent start.
Yeah. No, yeah. So yeah, he I don't know. Sometimes I just don't know what to say, but he just makes me laugh because of some of the stuff that he says. I'm just, sometimes he has me speechless.
Fantastic. And where can where can people find you if they want to know more?
My Instagram is Hair by Laquita, and my Facebook is Laquita Williamson. And also, I wanted to speak about a cream that my husband came up with well, at the time we didn't know, but we're very spiritual, so I just say it was a gift from God, because there's no way that somebody would my husband would just think of this, and so let me go back. So when Marcus was a baby, we were trying all different types of creams from out the store to like diaper rash creams and things like that to help heal his bottom up. And we couldn't find everything that we used. It just was just too like water based, or it would just melt off. I guess it was because his poop was just so full of acid. It's just unexplainable how his bottom and his skin would be melted off of him. But my husband come up with a cream, and at the time we just used it for our son. But as time went on, and I joined a Facebook group with Hirschsprung moms and dads, and they would talk about their kids and all the problems that they're having, and if anyone knew anything that could help their children, it just touched my heart. And I talked to my husband. I said, this cream that you created is I honestly don't think it's just for our son. I said, because it's just like, how could you think of this? And the way we believe is that, God gives us things to put out on earth to help others. So what we did was we named the product after our son. Our son's middle name is Legend. So the name of the cream is Legend's Choice, because it is his choice. It's what helps him every time he has problems with his poop, the acid in his poop. And we've been using that, and we've been telling others about it so that it can help their children as well. We have a website that people can purchase the cream off of if they want. And the website is www.legendschoice.net. They can go on that website, and the cream is just not for really bad diaper rash, but it can be used for any open wounds on the skin. It's honestly a miracle cream. It stops the pain that you're feeling in that spot at the time. Now, I do want to say, just like in Marcus's situation, so if we use the cream on him, it does help soothe it. It does comfort him. He said that the pain does stop, but if he keeps pooping, of course, it's gonna, keep affecting his skin. But the cream it's a thick cream, so it stays on the sores. So it helps to also coat it, coat the open sores on his skin. So I do want to put that out there for anyone who is looking for something, because it's all about, since I've experienced this and there's other parents in the same situation as us, and sometimes you just don't know what to try. We tried everything, and this has worked for us, and I'm sure it can work for others. So if anyone is interested, go check Legend's Choice out and get you a bottle, and I hope it blesses your child just like it has helped us in our family.
Fantastic. And this was just something that Marcus came up with just on his own, just sort of playing around with different creams and stuff.
Well, with different ingredients.
Ingredients,
and then we just tried it on him, and we were amazed. I was just like, how in the world? And now we use it on everything. Like, we almost use it as if it's a Neosporin. If somebody gets a scratch, they'll call it. My family, something happens, somebody has a sore, or somebody has anything, somebody's animal has a sore, have a scratch or something, a bug bit an animal, a bug bit us, we'll put it on there, and it does the same. So it's good for any open wound. I've used some on my grandma, who's an older lady who sometimes as older people, they don't know how to not scratch sores and things like that. So we've used it on her, and it has helped her leave her sores alone. So it's really been a miracle cream for it.
Fantastic. No, that sounds absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for joining me this evening. And I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you. And thank you again for having us. And I can't wait to hear more of your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. Find us on Instagram at Toms_Hirschsprungs_podcast. Listen to previous episodes on Spotify by searching Tom's Hirschsprungs Podcast.
It's